We have a responsibility, as all countries do, to do more to help solve the global refugee and migration crisis. Now is the time to develop new approaches to this challenge so that we can better help those who have left their homes behind in search of safety and opportunity.
You hear a lot of people talk about the fact that countries like Canada are made up of immigrants and refugees. So in the spirit of accepting that fully, we need to think about, can we take in more people? But we also need to think about, how do we support those people?
From the airport, I took a taxi. I said, please bring us to a refugee shelter. So he brought us to a few places. I told him there's no space. He said, okay, I know of another one. But that shelter told us, wait, let me make a few phone calls. So they started making phone calls all around town, in downtown. None of the shelter even have a bed for us. So now it's almost 11, so they even give us dinner to eat. My kids were even sleeping. And then they say, okay, there's a shelter called Blue Door, but it's not in town. It's like 1.5 hours from here.
When we first saw, it was really dark because it was at night. We thought the taxi driver might bring us to a different place where we don't know, so we were just a little nervous.
But the journey was scary because it was so late in the night. Somewhere halfway through the road, there was no light. And the taxi driver was actually doesn't know about this shelter. He was looking at the GPS, so he was like, I don't know, there was a family shelter. So he named the highway, and when he made a turn, I was so scared because it looked like a bush to me because you couldn't see the light of the place. Then my breath came back because I feel relief when I saw the building. Then after he was okay, he waited until we got in, then he left.
I think when you leave your country, you're leaving your family, your previous life, you're leaving everything that you've literally known. And when you arrive to the country, you have to adjust. So it takes a lot of time. There's language barriers, there is understanding the transportation system, understanding doctor's offices, understanding how to access the grocery stores or food banks. So there's a learning curve that's really, really high.
When I came in, it was as if they knew my struggle. They opened their arms to receive us.
I have never have it in mind that one day I will leave my country.
Nigeria is facing a lot of crises, multiple crises, internal crisis. We have a very major problem in the Niger Delta. That's in the east, we have a lot of agitation. In the north, Boko Haram. So if you look at it, it's putting the country on its knees.
So today, I had invited into this project as a way of creating some kind of expressive art experience for the families as kind of a starting point for them to share their story, the Tree of Life project, which is practiced around the world. This is just a lovely, positive way of really framing those stories, allowing the family's strengths and resiliencies to really come through.
And for me, the types of stories that I've seen are pretty horrific.
Everything is working fine.
It's okay. At times, we just pray people should have to save when you are in the need of being saved.
We had to leave Egypt because at that time in 1992, the Muslim extremists were blowing up Christian churches and being the fact that we're Christians, the government asked my dad to leave for our safety. So fleeing for safety, we arrived at Tanzania in the refugee camp where we lived for the next 7 years. It was very difficult. There was no food. We used to get food. The UN UNHCR used to bring food for refugees, but there was no health care. The water was dirty water we had to drink sometimes, and most times we got really, really sick.
I like it here because people are nice, because I don't really not like Singapore. Some people really bully you, they don't care. They bully, they tear my shirt. No, we're just the little ones. We miss our dad because we haven't seen him for 1.5 years. He's been in Nigeria, stuck there trying to come. But we know that we'll never quit on him until he comes here. So we're just waiting. We're trying our best to try and get him here.
So when anyone comes into Canada, it's actually very difficult for the first couple of years, and oftentimes their health deteriorates, their mental health deteriorates. They really have a hard time. There's a huge culture shift. There's a huge lack of confidence in what you've done in terms of even raising a family.
They have wonderful strengths and innate abilities to get through. We talked today when we all came together as families around these beautiful trees.
I don't view it as a choice. They're really fleeing and coming here because they really have no choice but to leave where they are. And the reality is most of the clients that I meet actually have a dream of being in their home.
Tell me what you miss from home.
My friends in Nigeria and my cousin.
The weather, the spice.
Do you think you'll ever go back to Nigeria?
No.
Why?
Don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Why?
Canada is more better than Nigeria.
What's happening in Nigeria?
It's so hot.
Anything else?
Crisis.
It's not that they don't want to be here. They're grateful and happy that they're in a safer space, but they really do want to be home. But the level of violence that they have been subjected to has been too much, and that they likely wouldn't survive if they stayed in those countries.
I leave my country because of safety. I run for safety.
Our whole issue starts because of interracial marriage and different cultural.
To come to Canada was very risky, but when I arrived, the difference is quite clear. It's like digging for a treasure in a quest to get to hit your target. We have arrived in Canada here. We have seen the love here.
Some take incredible risk of paying people to help them get from their home countries to Canada. Sometimes they have to spend a lot of money which they often don't have, and often use their entire life savings just to get here.
We meet the immigration, they gave us a number to call. But when we called, they said there is no space, there is no shelter, there is no this. What's to do that night? We called taxi. That was my first solution because of my pregnancy and my little baby. We went to Marriott Hotel. We stayed there for 2 days. The first day we paid $218. They said we should hold on. They give us another number to call again, another shelter to call if there is a space for us. They said no space available. So that night, because of the code, because in Nigeria, the code there is not like this. So my husband have no option than to go back to the Marriott Hotel. We paid $218 again.
It was tough.
The third day we came, we went back to Marriott Hotel again. We paid $400 because we don't have any money again. Still see me with tears, immigration woman. God will bless you. She saw me, she even cried. Then she started calling.
An immigration officer did all this for you?
Yes.
She was wonderful.
She helped us to carry our bag. She carried my daughter on her shoulder. She take us to Tazi. She direct us to New Market, Uprooted.
So I came from Singapore, which I was born into a Hindu family. I met my husband in 2007. He came as a tourist. So when I told them I want to get married, their first question was he a Hindu? I say, no, he's not. Then they say, oh, is he a Chinese? I say, no. So when I told them he's an African, they just totally freak out. They were so angry, they were so mad.
In 1999, the government of Canada sponsored us to come to Canada. So we landed in St. John's, Newfoundland. But shortly after that, we started high school, and it was a nightmare. I remember a couple of times some kids would come up to us and be like, oh, go back to Africa. Do you guys live on trees like monkeys? In the refugee camp, we used to think everybody like in Canada is like so nice and people would welcome us, but we didn't feel welcomed.
Our immigration system is split into two pieces, immigrant and refugees. Refugees are people who are fleeing fear of persecution or fear or risk to their physical selves or mental health as well, fleeing from a country because of those conditions and coming to another country. And then they do have to come to Canada and make a claim and prove to our country that they did face the conditions that they say they faced. What becomes difficult about these situations is when you think about a person fleeing because they're scared for their life, they're not thinking at the time that they're fleeing, I better take all the paperwork and proof that all of this happened. And that's where they need supports from people to help them to make their case one that they can prove to Canada.
I'm still struggling for litigations, bringing documentation process. Your credibility is at stake when you don't have the necessary documentation. You are running. You don't have a perfect story. No refugee will have a perfect story. This is what happened.
So when you come to the country and you have nothing really with you?
Nothing. Just two backpacks we came with. Two.
For the whole family?
Yes, because we are running for safety.
And what was in it?
Just clothing.
For everyone, for 6 people?
Yes.
Do you still have the backpack?
Yes. I have new ones, so they gave me new ones.
You came with the most important things that you needed to come with.
Yes.
What do you think social service providers need to understand but don't seem to?
It would have been helpful if every worker knows exactly what is available, or if we could tell them that I heard about this, at least spend some time to find out about it, rather than just say no.
Did you receive any help from non-social service providers?
The most important thing to me was to find a church. So I was thinking, okay, this place really looks so remote, where is the church nearby? So when I Googled it, I find out it was just 10 minutes from the shelter. So first we walked down the highway. It was so scary. When we started walking, then I realized, oh, there's no walking path here. Maybe because of the church people and all that, I actually find all the services easier. Is in York region. I don't think I have to be in town to access all that. Food-wise, clothes-wise, school, extra activities for the kids and all that is already here.
One of the most important things is actually support that you do get from other people.
What was the thing that overwhelmed you the most?
Canada border securities, they say we should go and buy return tickets. They didn't even give us a reason why it didn't approve. They just say dismiss. They just give a note, say this case has been dismissed without any reason. And then he told us that's how federal court work.
So now what?
My lawyer said we have to apply permanent resident through humanitarian and compassionate ground. And you know what? The fees was almost $850. Just the application fees.
How did you get that money?
Church. You just have to show how established your kids are. And then friends you have made. So I got like 100 letters from church. My lawyer said, they can still ask you to get a ticket and leave. So it's like, I'm not sure what is going on now.
So I remember the first time my mom was able to rent her first home, and it was just such a turning point. That was the first time that we were able to go from living with family to it just being my mother and I in our home. And that was a significant part in our lives.
So I decided when I turned 19 that I'll leave all the racism behind me and move somewhere where there's different diverse backgrounds and see what's out there. I decided to move to Toronto. I realized after that it wasn't safe because we experienced shootings. I decided to move. Soon after that, somebody thought I was like the cleaning lady in the condo. And I was like, okay, that's like strange. Why would they think I'm a cleaning lady? And in my mind, I don't know if, I didn't want to always say, oh, they're racist, they're this, but that's exactly what it was.
So 6 weeks, just 1.5 months. You have to find a house and move, or you have to move to another shelter.
So housing in general is very, very difficult to find, and so oftentimes people who are new to the country, they have limited access to finding apartments or basement apartments or wherever it is that they're looking for, and so oftentimes it is a whole family in a smaller unit.
Finally, we just decided to buy our own house in York region still because we really liked the neighborhood. I haven't experienced any racism because I'll just go to work, I come back home. But I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not interacting with people, like as in an apartment building.
But for refugees, there is a rule that they will pay you until you get maybe your status or you find a job with your work permit.
Blue Door Shelter is our first point of contact. The support they give us is beyond what money can offer.
We are having a debate in Canada around the argument around the value of immigrants and refugees versus the drain on our system. And I think the truth is when you frame the question in that way, that is part of the problem, first of all. The idea that we have to quantify the value of a human being that comes to our country only because they're an immigrant or refugee is dehumanizing.
When you grow up, and we hope that you'll grow up in Canada, what would you like to do when you grow up?
I want to be a doctor. I want to be a fashion designer, a lawyer, an engineer.
The truth is the clients that I work with are often within the system of supports for a short period of time. They are so driven to get back to the lives that they once led, the productive lives where they supported themselves. They get on their feet as quickly as they want because like all of us, they have the same dream.
My dreams is to work and work harder. For my kids, this land offers an opportunity that it cannot be elsewhere. They cannot get it back home. They have given us so much that we are looking for ways, even though it's small in our own way, how can we contribute to the system?
I was telling my church people, I mean, that's the job that I want to do, maybe be a social worker. So things that I didn't know about, now that I know about, I could tell them, help them. Or maybe I don't know whether that's the word I should use, educate local people.
Yes, they help Blue Door Shelter, they gave us furnitures, they gave us so many things for the housing.
So at the end of the day, I would just like to tell people, like, don't judge people based on what they look. We're all at the same, like, we're all people. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Indian, Chinese, we're all the same, we're all people and we all come from different backgrounds and we all have different lives and we should all live together and just be happy and support one another because you never know where life takes you.
So I think oftentimes for people to really succeed in a new country, it really does involve a whole community supporting them.
We went to Holland Landing Public School. I just felt nervous, but everyone was really nice to me. They helped me with all my work, and I found out that Canada's a really nice place to live.
And now also even in school, so if you have any children who have classmates who are from other parts of the world, like just making sure that it is challenging for them and to make sure that they're being included. Everyone has their story of the people that have helped them. And so to all the people that even got me to where I am today, I am eternally grateful. And so there's always a sense of giving back, so oftentimes I try to make sure that I'm an advocate for refugees.
So I will say that we cannot thank them enough. They have done something extraordinary.
I don't really know how to even describe it, but I just say it's heaven on earth for me.
I think it's a privilege, actually, that I get to work in what we call social justice law, which is to use the power that I have as a lawyer to advocate for people who don't necessarily have that same privilege or ability to speak as loudly as I can.
We have a lot more similarities than we do have differences. And once you give a person just the opportunity to get to know them a little more, you'll start realizing how truly connected we all can be.